Well, everybody's heard about the bird.
Welcome to the Broken Flame Podcast. With you as always, TK. Hello. And I'm Jay. This week, we're going to talk about the Northern Divisions, AFC North, the NFC North. And I think we're going to start with Green Bay.
Yeah.
You jump right in.
Go into the NFC.
Do you have anything from this last week, between last week and this week, that you want to get off your chest before we get into the meat of this?
New news?
Any new news?
No, there's no new news. It's all old news.
Okay.
It's all slow developing.
I just got back from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That was fun, but really not worth mentioning here. No. Just 12 hours in a car over 2 days.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, moving right into it. NFC North. Start off with the Green Bay Packers.
The Pack.
The NFC runner-up.
Yeah.
This year.
They did good.
They did. 10-6 record, which was maybe not as good as they wanted to do, but 10-6, and then they got all the way to the championship game. They lost to the Falcons, but had a great year. Lost to the Falcons 44-21, so it was a lopsided score, but still they had a great year. Looking ahead to 2017, Aaron Rodgers is getting older, but still in his prime.
33.
Yeah. He'll be 34 in December. So
no big deal.
That's a sweet spot, right? For a quarterback?
Peyton Manning played till he was 40.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's, is he 40?
He might be. But he seems to be doing just fine.
Two of the best.
Yeah. So 30. I'm not worried about a 33-year-old.
No, he's still got at least 5 years left.
Yeah. That's crazy. Looking at the rest of the Packers offense, the one thing that really sticks out to me was running back. Because they were sticking in last year after Eddie Lacy went down and James Stark went down, they plugged in Ty Montgomery.
Yeah, the wide receiver.
It was a wide receiver. I have been watching pro football for a long time. I don't remember another wide receiver being plugged in at running back.
Yeah, we thought about this and we kind of looked it up half-heartedly. And we didn't find any examples of it. So nothing successful has happened in that regard that we are aware of anyway.
Yeah. It was interesting because we talked about Danny Woodhead.
Yeah.
I mean, you have still like scat back running backs that actually split out to the slot. Darren Sproles. Even Eric Metcalf. Those were running backs going to receiver. Yeah. I can't think of an instance of a receiver coming inside. To running backs. So that was pretty interesting. I thought
he worked.
For the most part, he did. Yeah. I was a little concerned, and I think one of the holes in his game was pass blocking.
Oh, yeah, he's terrible at it.
Yeah, so, you probably want to put him in a position where he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, but he is working on it this year.
Yeah.
Who knows how good he's going to get at it, but he's trying. He's trying to get himself into that mindset of, I want them to blitz because this is what I want to do. Well, he said that.
Well, and that's a great thing to say. I'm not sure Aaron Rodgers is thinking that. I'm not sure Aaron Rodgers
I don't want this guy, 250 pound, 6 foot Ty Montgomery to protect me.
Yeah.
Well, I want him to, but I don't trust him to.
Count him on getting the correct read and making sure he understands which guy the guard's going to block and then step in. I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is happy about that, but we'll see. They've drafted a couple of actual running backs.
They drafted 3 running backs.
They did. They drafted 3. They spent their 4th, 5th, and 7th round picks on running backs. Jamal Williams, BYU, Aaron Jones out of UTEP, and Devontae Mays out of Utah State. Yeah. So a couple of Utah boys. I don't think that'll matter. I don't think Devontae Mays is going to figure into this.
Probably not.
But Jamal Williams certainly might.
He's a pass blocking specialist, too. He's kind of gotten that reputation out of BYU.
Okay.
So he'll probably earn his playing time in that regard, especially if Ty Montgomery doesn't show much improvement.
Okay. I wasn't aware. Good tip. What I did find, Williams and Jones, the 4th and 5th round picks, did you know they each missed a whole season in college due to knee injuries?
I didn't.
Yeah.
But it seems like everybody's missed a season to a knee injury at this point.
A knee injury now doesn't seem like the same thing as it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When I started watching football, a knee injury meant you were done forever. You couldn't ever come back. Gale Sayers would have been playing till he was 90, I think, now. But, yeah. That was...
problem. You just take a year off, rehab.
Yeah. And you seem to be coming back just fine. Yeah. Adrian Peterson seemed to come back just fine. That's wild. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Martellus Bennett signs from New England.
That's a good pickup.
They go pick him up.
They finally got that, I think. They finally got that tight end, that effective pass-catching tight end that they've been missing for quite a while.
Since Brett Favre retired. Who was Brett Favre's tight end? Not Chimura. Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, they had a guy for a while, but it's been a number of years.
Yeah.
Since Brett Favre retired. Yes. I think didn't he go into the Hall of Fame, or is he due to go into the Hall of Fame? Brett Favre.
Oh, he's got to be there, right? I don't know how long they hold you out.
5 years after he finished up with the Jets. Brett Favre with the Jets was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that too. Okay, enough of that.
Enough Jets talk.
Enough Jets. On defense, what struck you?
Well, I think that they're going to have a better secondary this year. It was awful last year. It was 31st in yards allowed. They dealt with a lot of injuries, though. So a couple of guys they're hoping that are going to be good and perform well were injured last year. Demarius Randall and Quentin Collins. So they should help. Davon House was in Green Bay for a while. He was in Jacksonville for the last 2 years. He's come back this year. They drafted Kevin King. He's going to add some length and athleticism to their secondary. And then, of course, they've got HaHa Clinton-Dix and Morgan Burnett.
So it should be an improved defense then.
Pro Football Focus released their secondary rankings for the upcoming season, and they bumped them all the way up to 16th.
Oh.
So wow, they see, a good amount of improvement there.
Now, go back just a second now. You were talking about pass defense. They finished up where?
31st.
31st.
Yeah.
Out of 32 teams.
269 yards through the air for opposing quarterbacks.
That's a healthy day.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Okay. All right. Do you have a fantasy pick? There seems to be a lot here. You could.
I think I like Devontae Adams this year. I think Randall Cobb's still really young. He's only 26, which surprised me. I feel like I've been picking him in fantasy for a long time. And Jordy Nelson's 32. But Devontae Adams came on pretty strong last year. He had 3 yards short of 1,000, 12 touchdowns. I think he's in for a big year.
Okay.
I think he might become the number one.
Really?
Maybe not the number one in depth chart perception, but number one in fantasy stats.
Okay, and that was Devontae Adams. Huh. Okay. I had not heard of Devontae Adams before.
Oh, you will.
All right. Moving projections. I've got him going 11-5.
I have them 13-3.
That seems high.
I think they're gonna. I looked at their schedule.
Yeah.
And that's what I came up with.
13-3.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, they do get to play the Lions, and the Lions are traditionally mediocre.
Twice.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other teams in their conference that aren't exactly good.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Oh, no, in everybody's opinion. That's an opinion shared by many.
Yeah.
13-3. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's move right along then.
Chugging along.
The Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Football Lions.
The Detroit Football Lions. Head coach Jim Caldwell.
Yeah.
And offensive coordinator.
Your favorite.
Jim Bob Cooter. The best name in the NFL.
Or the worst name in the NFL.
No. The best name. Let me say it one more time. Hey, Jim Bob Cooter. That's exactly how you should. Every time you hear it, that's what it sounds like. Jim Bob Cooter. That's how you should say it.
With that country twang.
A little bit. Just imagine you're in the Dukes of Hazzard.
That's what I imagine. I don't imagine a football coach. I imagine a character from the Dukes of Hazzard when I hear that name. So it surprises me.
Jim Bob Cooter is fantastic.
We're spending too much time on this.
It's a lot of time on Jim Bob.
On the name.
I know nothing about him either. Yeah, no, it's just he's a guy. Apparently, he calls plays in Detroit. Anyway, Jim Caldwell. Let's talk about him a little bit.
And he's had some success.
Yeah,
he took over in Indy his first year. Peyton Manning takes him to the Super Bowl. They lost, but that's a pretty good first year.
Not bad.
I think that might have been the best first year for a head coach.
I hadn't thought about that. It may well have been. I can't think of a better one off the top of my head.
Yeah. But then, 2011, a couple years later, Peyton takes the year off. I don't know if he took the year off. He took the year off.
Yeah.
To get his neck fixed.
Yeah, he chose.
I think he had to fuse some vertebrae or something.
He chose not to play with a broken neck.
So, Curtis Painter, Dan Orlovsky, and Kerry Collins.
That's a trio.
Yeah, they step in and lead the Rams to a 2-14 season.
Colts.
So they step in and lead the Colts. You'll understand when I hear 2-14, I think Rams.
Well, I understand also when you say Curtis Painter, Dan Orlovsky, and Kerry Collins.
Yeah, 2 years later.
Yeah.
They come in, take over for Peyton, and lead the Colts to a 2-14 record.
2-14.
Which I think, I don't know if that's Caldwell's fault.
No.
But he got fired for it regardless.
Let's put it this way. I think it's probably not his fault, but for sure you get fired for 2-14.
Maybe you're supposed to win 4 of those.
But on the upside for the Colts, though, that brought in luck.
Yeah.
That was Andrew Luck. Suck for luck. That's right. Anyway, after he was with Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore picked him up, promptly won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Then moves on to Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And Stafford's been good to him for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
They've made the playoffs 2 of the 3 years since Caldwell's been there. But they're both wild card losses, so they haven't really been successful playoffs.
Well, they haven't taken the next step.
But I think the Lions are happy with getting into the playoffs. At least they
I think
were
so. I think
then.
really this year, they need to make a step this year.
Yeah.
I think they can. I think Matt Stafford is
Stafford's the guy.
He's a quarterback that can take you there.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why not. I think losing Megatron last year was bad for Detroit, but I think it probably opened up the passing game a little bit because Matt Stafford could look around now, and he didn't have to concentrate on one guy.
Yeah, and defenses probably weren't as aware of where he was going to go for the majority of his pass attempts.
Sort of like when Sterling Sharp broke his neck in Green Bay. That's so talking about necks this week. Oh, anyway, and then Brett Favre was able to utilize 2 and 3 to 4 different receivers. So maybe addition by subtraction. I hate to say that. I love Megatron. I'm really disappointed that he's not around anymore.
Yeah,
but
they would probably be a lot better if he was still there.
Yeah,
because it's Golden Tate, it's Marvin Jones Jr. That's about it. They drafted Kenny Galladay, excuse me.
Okay.
They drafted Kenny Galladay.
I don't know who Kenny Galladay is either. They're bringing help in, I guess, is the.
And then after that, it's not looking too good for like a 4th string wide receiver on that team. They do have Theo Riddick at running back, who's a pretty good pass catcher. So him and Amir Abdullah coming out of the backfield will help. Okay,
so there's some hope.
Yeah.
But I thought one of the things I thought was interesting this year, they traded to get Greg Robinson.
Yeah.
Offensive tackle from the Rams, the number 2 pick in 2014.
Yeah.
And they gave up a 6th round pick to get him.
That might have been too much.
Because he's bad.
Yes, very bad.
But interesting reclamation project, though, because...
Good luck to them.
You know what? I think athletic ability-wise, he's worth a 6th round pick. Put it this way.
Based on potential alone?
If he was available in the draft this year, would you take him with a 6th round pick? I think I might.
If you were looking at his NFL tape or his college tape?
Even his NFL tape. I
don't think you draft him.
He didn't have a lot of success in Los Angeles. I think we can all agree.
He has been the most penalized player in the NFL the last 2 years.
Oh, really? Where did you pull that stat from?
The internet.
That is fantastic. Is he really?
I think it's something like 7 false starts in the last 2 years, and then a bunch of offensive holdings as well. It's hard to hold on offense, isn't it?
Put it to you this way: they are counting on him to step in and perform, but it's because Taylor Decker is out with a torn labrum.
Yeah.
So when Taylor Decker comes back,
they're just biding their time.
Yeah,
and hoping.
That's the good news. Yeah. Well, the downside is that the bad news is that Taylor Decker may be out until December.
That's the whole season.
That's the whole season. So I don't know. That could, that could be a situation that works out really good, or it could really be
I don't
bad.
think it's going to work.
Yeah, it's Detroit.
His run blocking, if you had to pick, his run blocking is better than his pass blocking. But Detroit's game is all about the pass.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a attacked area of the line, and Greg Robinson's probably just going to get manhandled. I hope I'm wrong, because I want everybody to succeed in the NFL.
That's right. That's
Except
why we
for
watch
the Steelers.
No, we're going to talk about the Steelers in just a little bit. Okay. Do you have anything to say about the defense?
Well, so they've got another suspension. Somebody's missing the first 4 games for substance abuse. Armonte Bryant, defensive end. He's had some issues with, obviously, he's missing 4 games.
That's the stage 2.
That's his second.
Yeah.
4
games.
I don't have them winning the first 4 games of the season anyway, so I don't think this really matters. What do I know?
Right. You know what? It's so funny how they do that, too, because you're allowed to practice with the team in preseason. and then the minute the regular season starts, then your suspension starts, and that seems so weird.
Yeah.
So you train, and then you lose a guy for a month. If I was a coach, how much effort do you put into that guy? He's not going to be there the first month of the season anyway. I
guess the idea is just like we want to let you continue to condition him.
Yeah.
But when it matters in the games, you can't have them.
That's interesting. Okay. You got anything else for Detroit?
Nothing.
All right. We will move on to the Minnesota. Oh, sorry. Of course, fantasy pick. Yeah. Who do you got?
A fantasy pick for the Detroit Lions. Yeah. What are you doing?
There's only one.
Is there any?
Ooh.
I don't want an obvious one every time. I mean, Stafford, you're going to pick. Everybody, he's always picked.
Well, who else would you pick on that team?
That's the problem.
Golden Tate,
he's going to get picked too. He's the number one receiving option. What do you do?
He's not a good one, though.
No.
You should get a better one.
I'm going to say Theo Riddick. But I'm only going to say this. If you're in a PPR league, point per reception.
Okay.
He's going to catch some passes.
Swing passes out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Short yardage. Or not short yardage, but short passes.
And with the O-line being questionable, I think they'll have to do some quick short passes.
Balls out.
Yeah.
There you go. That's right.
There you go.
Okay, Theo Riddick.
Yeah.
And the team will end up. Where would they end up?
5-11.
Ooh. I've got them at 9-7. 5-11. Wow.
I'm not very nice, am I? They don't even have a very difficult strength of schedule this year.
Greg Robinson scares you, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He scares me too. I'll be honest. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
I would rather have big George Fant than Greg Robinson.
They lost Anquan Bolden too.
Yeah.
He's old, but he's still good.
Yeah.
He's not signed yet.
You were saying how many targets did he have last year?
95 targets.
95 targets.
Yeah, he ate up a lot of attention. I don't know where that's going to go. I think Golden Tate and Marvin Jones are just going to get a lot of it. But
oof. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move on to the Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Football Vikings.
The Minnesota Football Vikings.
You're forgetting our rule.
I am.
Maybe it's a bad rule.
It probably is a terrible rule. But we'll start. The Minnesota Football Vikings. One of the things that I'm startled by is Michael Floyd. Michael Floyd is suspended.
The Kombucha Warrior.
Yeah. So he's in Arizona and he gets a DUI. This is a well-known story. We'll recap it just real quick. He gets a DUI and he's sentenced to a year of house arrest, I think is what it was. And he did that, and the Cardinals waived him. And then he was picked up by New England. And he didn't play a lot in New England. I don't think he was mixed into the offense.
I don't remember him doing much of anything. I mean, he must have had.
He's got a ring. I mean, he was there on the sidelines while all the cool stuff was happening. But in the offseason, they let him go. They didn't re-sign him, and he wound up in Minnesota. Well, he gets to Minnesota, and do you want to talk about what happened with poor Michael Floyd?
Well, is he still on probation at this point?
Yes, he is.
You're going to have to be self-breathalyzing yourself.
Right.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
And
no alcohol.
Yeah.
That was the condition.
And so kombucha is a delicious, in some opinions, drink that is a fermented tea type substance that will have some alcohol in it.
Some.
Yeah. It's a little.
A little bit. Okay.
0.5% ABV.
0.5.
Legally.
0.5% at the most.
Oh, legally.
Okay.
I've read it can get higher if it's left out at room temperature.
Well, that's what you heard that from Michael Floyd's scientist, his own personal scientist, that he hired to defend him against this, whatever it is. He's claiming that he drank fermented tea, and that's what popped him on the breathalyzer.
A lot of it.
At 4 to 5 warm, because apparently if it's warm, like you were saying,
it'll actually super ferment.
Yeah. So he's claiming the kombucha did it. The kombucha tea did it.
But nobody's buying it. Why
would you? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
That's stupid. You know what that's like? That's like the guy who gets popped doing heroin saying, no, it was the poppy seed breakfast I had, or poppy seed muffin I had this morning.
But it was.
It was not. For sure it was not.
Okay, so Michael Floyd is probably a non-factor in Minnesota then.
I would hope so. Mike Zimmer, the head coach, is standing behind him for the moment.
He's scratching his eyes out.
We're gonna get to that.
I can't believe it.
Speaking of Mike Zimmer. Well, we'll just get into it right now. Mike Zimmer has been having troubles with his eye.
Poor guy.
Yeah, during a game last season, he scratched his cornea, which is really, it's not hard to do. Scratching the cornea is actually not a very hard thing to do. But then the first surgery he had to correct it didn't work. And then he had to go back in immediately to get a second surgery, a more serious surgery. And that's kind of where they're at right now. And they're seeing if that's going to take. And if it doesn't, he's going to go back in for a third surgery. But these are, we're starting to get into training camp now. And so Mike Zimmer, I in my head, he's wandering around the Minnesota Vikings practice facility with an eye patch on.
I hope so.
A little bit like Captain Feathersword. That's what, in my head, that's what I'm seeing. Are you familiar with Captain Feathersword?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, we'll just skip that reference entirely.
Okay. Google it.
Google it.
I'll Google it with you.
It's a children's show. It's fine.
Okay.
It's not bad. Okay, so Mike Zimmer, the pirate. Michael Floyd, the kombucha
warrior.
The kombucha warrior. Let's jump into the actual people who are going to play. And before we do that, actually, this is a quick update on Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay.
Who's not going to play. So we'll just push it back even farther. Teddy Bridgewater is still rehabbing from the knee injury, the non-contact knee injury from last offseason.
Yeah.
That shredded his knee. Torn ligaments, dislocated knee, the whole thing, non-contact.
Scary.
Yeah. It makes me not want to walk.
Yeah.
It makes me just want to sit down in a chair forever until I keel over. It's just,
playing it safe.
Not good. So, but he's coming back. He's rehabbing. And there may be a point this season where you see him, but he will not be ready.
Hopefully not too soon.
He will not be ready by the first game of the regular season.
Yeah.
So, the Vikings are going to be using Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
And Case Keenum of formerly of the LA Rams.
Please no.
Yeah.
If the Rams aren't keeping you, why would anybody else keep you? I mean, ask Greg Robinson.
Yeah. I can't really make a case for Case in this case.
Good one.
Just bad. Okay. Bradford came on board last year, and he took the Vikings to a hot start, 5 wins.
He did pretty well.
Yeah. And then the 7 losses after the 5 wins and 7 losses. So that was less well.
Yeah, but he performed well.
Did he?
Sort of.
Okay. Do you have numbers to back that up, or you just?
He had 20 touchdowns last year and only 5 interceptions.
That seems like a lot.
But he also had 5 lost fumbles.
Oh.
So when you even that all out, it was 2-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio.
That's still
it's
okay.
good.
Yeah.
You would have liked to have no fumbles and the 5 interceptions, and then it looks pretty good.
That would be better.
But
yeah,
it was improvement. Sam's always up and down.
I don't remember him being up that much. Even
up
when
for
they were
his standards.
Even when they were winning last year, I never got the feeling like, wow, Sam Bradford's there and saved the day. We're fine. It's always, Sam. Oh my God, Sam Bradford didn't lose a game. That's what I was thinking.
He didn't tear an ACL again.
It
would have been his third.
He played. I think he played every game, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. No, not last year.
So there, you know what? Good on him for that.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Key losses from the offense this offseason, obviously. Adrian Peterson.
Who?
Adrian Peterson.
Oh yeah.
AD all day AP.
That's what.
Who did not re-sign with the Vikings? Probably the right time for those two to part company, but still
significant
player loss. I mean, Peterson was good for 20-25 carries a game if you want to just keep feeding him the rock. He wasn't as successful running the ball as he has been in previous years. I don't think that was because of him. I think the offensive line had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, it was not good last year.
The Vikings did go out in the offseason and pick up Latavius Murray, free agent signing from Oakland. So they have a running back.
And they drafted
Dalvin Cook in the second round.
Yes.
And what I'm reading is Cook may actually challenge for snaps sooner rather than later, because Murray is still he's still not out, but he's recovering from an ankle injury.
Yeah.
I think he had surgery on it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they went after Murray or that they drafted Cook, because they both kind of seem like lead back types to me.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just going for that two-headed approach, try and keep them both fresh. And they've still got Jerick McKinnon too, who was not exactly great, but stuck it out for him.
So the Vikings, it could be. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year.
I think it'll work for them.
A lot of upheaval.
They retooled their offensive line this year. They drafted Pat Elflein. He's going to play center or guard. He was a center. They signed Riley Reiff from the Lions. They got Mike Remmers from the Panthers. And then Joe Berger, who was their best and only good offensive lineman last year is back. So here's looking.
Yeah.
So things are looking better, hopefully.
Sounds good. Do you have in regards to the defense? I don't have a lot other than to say that Mike Zimmer is a good defensive coach.
Yeah.
And
whenever he was a defensive coordinator, his defenses were top of the league.
Well, the defense last year for Minnesota
and it's still good.
Was third in yards against, and such. That's
the
pretty
offense
good.
is the problem. Maybe he should just be a DC.
Maybe that's actually valid.
29th in yards per game for the offense. I'm talking about 29th yards per game, passing yards 17th, rushing. Well, this might have been a different story. 32nd.
It's interesting because in addition to all the other things that happened to him with Bridgewater last year, and then with Zimmer with the eye. And all the other, the quick start and the quick fade. Norv Turner started off the season as their offensive coordinator and then quit on them.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
He just quit. I don't think he got forced out. I think he chose to not do that job anymore.
Yeah.
And then they brought in Pat Schumer, and so they were dealing with some weird kind of off-field issues.
Sounds like it.
So, yeah. Do you have a fantasy choice?
I love Stephon Diggs. He was outstanding for 2 games last year before getting hurt.
So if you pick the right 2 games,
I did.
You spot start him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope he's back full strength this year because he's exciting to watch. I think he's really good. I think he's going to do good things. So he's my fantasy play. And I think maybe he'll be a little underrated because he didn't have that great of a season last year.
Okay. It's hard to pick a guy on the Vikings. It's hard to target a guy and say that's my guy.
I think Sam Bradford's going to be effective for them until it's Bridgewater time. So I'm okay with the passing game, and I think they've got competent running backs and hopefully a competent O-line.
Yeah.
So I think the offense could be markedly better this year.
And if the defense just keeps doing what it's doing, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And all that being said, what's your projection?
All that being said,
yeah.
I threw it out the window in my projection. I just wasn't thinking clearly. I have them at a staggering 6-10.
Oh, I've got to be 8-8 too. But after we talked them up, I feel like 8-8. Actually, 8-8's about right.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to do much better than that.
Good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the good news for the Vikings, if there is good news for them, is that they play in the same division as the Chicago Bears.
Bears.
The Bears are terrible.
Do we have to do that? Let's not be the ones that say "Duh Bears." Start over the Bears part again.
The Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are bad. 3-13 last year. Jay Cutler, they finally beat him down to the point where he retired.
Good for him.
So really, I think
earned it.
He did. He was a mediocre quarterback for a number of years.
He was around for a long time, just driving people nuts.
Yeah, flashes of brilliance, and then large stretches of just mediocre play
and getting hurt.
Yeah. So that was good. So the Bears needed a quarterback because as a 3-13 team, everybody knows as a 3-13 team, the one position you must have is quarterback. And the Bears, God bless them, they traded their whole draft to move up one place to pick up Mitchell Trubisky out of the University of North Carolina, a 1-year starter.
I'm scratching my nose right now.
Yeah. I have no idea why this happened. I don't think successful teams do this.
Somebody must see something in this guy that nobody else is seeing.
It's got to be. It's got to be that, doesn't it?
Did they think? I mean, so they traded up one spot.
One spot. They essentially swapped picks with the Niners.
It was the Niners. So they thought the Niners were going to take Trubisky, or
that must have been that had to have been it.
But the Niners were like, okay, we don't want Trubisky. We'd rather have your draft picks.
Yeah, because the Niners looked at their roster and said, we have so many holes to fill. Yeah. Where the Bears looked at their roster and said,
they played the long game.
The only piece we're missing is quarterback. Because what they gave up, listen to what they gave up. They gave up, they swapped picks with the 49ers. They gave up the 3rd and 4th round picks this year and their 3rd round pick next year. Yeah. So, I mean, those are not, that's not an inconsiderable number of picks.
That's some talent there. Those are early round picks.
I would expect, I think typically you get picks in that range. Maybe they're not superstars, but you're expecting those guys to contribute.
Oh, yeah.
Those are guys that play on Sunday.
Yeah, you keep them for their 5 years.
Yeah, and now you've got 3 less.
Oops.
I don't understand why you would do that. That's kind of crazy. So anyway, that being said, it still looks like with Mitchell Trubisky being drafted, they still have Mike Glennon.
Yeah, they're going to let him throw the ball. For some reason. That objectively that makes sense because he's got more experience.
Yeah. You drafted a guy with no experience. Even in college, he started for a year. It's not like he's a 4-year starter. You don't have a large body of work to look at. He couldn't even beat out the guy ahead of him at University of North Carolina. He had to wait for that guy to graduate. Anyway, it's crazy. What do you have on the Bears? Is there anything you want to talk about here?
They don't have much. I'm feeling bad for them. Jordan Howard's the bright spot, I think. He did really well last year. He's going to do well again this year. Their receiving game is scary bad. Could be a train wreck. I mean, they have names you've heard of. They've got Marcus Wheaton, Kendall Wright, Victor Cruz. Those are the guys you've heard of.
Right.
Cameron Meredith and Kevin White are the young guys that you probably haven't heard of. They're listed to be the starters. They both.
Oh, wow.
Kevin White had a pretty bad year last year. Cameron Meredith did okay. I don't see Wheaton, Wright, and Cruz doing much of anything.
Okay.
Sparse.
It's tough. Is there a fantasy play you like?
I mean, the obvious one, I said no obvious picks, but Jordan Howard. If you're a Bears fan and you want a Bear on your team, I guess you're picking Jordan Howard.
Forgive me, I don't know who Jordan Howard is. Who is Jordan Howard?
He's their running back, their lead back.
He's their lead back.
Yeah.
Okay, how come I don't know who that is? Is he not very good?
You very rightly don't follow the Bears.
I don't at all. You know what? Okay. While I'm piling on the Bears, I am unimpressed with John Fox. I am. Even when he was coaching in Carolina, even when he was doing well in Carolina, I was always unimpressed by him. There's a guy I don't get it. I don't understand why you give him the reins of your organization. I know he won a Super Bowl in Denver, or 2, I guess. He won 2 Super Bowls in Denver, but that really is the Peyton Manning effect, isn't it?
I think I could have done the same thing.
That's not John Fox. I don't think.
I doubt it.
Okay.
I mean, they also failed in the Super Bowl under John Fox.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I've got projection. I've got them going 3-13 again.
Me too.
I don't see any reason why they would do better. I don't see what they've done to their team to make them better than they were last year.
That was me being nice.
3-13.
I have them beating Detroit at home.
Just splitting.
Detroit gets a bad game.
Okay.
They're not very good.
All right. So that's the NFC North.
It is.
Off to the AFC North. We'll start with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Steelers, my favorite team.
You like them?
I don't. But it's difficult. When I first started following football, my team was the Ravens. It still is.
Okay.
But coming into the game from the fantasy perspective, I didn't know anything about histories or rivalries. So I liked the Ravens, and I had Hines Ward, so I also liked the Steelers. Then I come to find out you can't like both of these teams. So I stuck with the Ravens.
Oh, did you pick the right one?
To me, I did.
Here's the thing. When I was growing up, we're in Portland. We've talked about this. I was a Seahawks fan. They're the closest geographical team. I had an aunt who was a Seahawks fan, and she talked about it, and we decided that I was going to be a Seahawks fan. And I was 10 years old. I had no chance. If I had known then what I know now, I think I might have been a 49ers fan. I'm just saying the Niners were good in the 80s.
Yeah.
There were a lot of Super Bowls.
You missed out on some good stuff.
I did. I don't,
But you get some good stuff more recently now.
Well, now.
But now, yeah, it would have been more fun when you were young.
It would have much more fun. I wouldn't have hated myself growing up. It was hard. A Seahawks fan with Jim Zorn and Dave Craig. Oh, geez. Oh, it wasn't not good. Anyway, the Steelers. Back to the Steelers. We're talking about the Steelers.
Yeah.
We'll jump in. They're getting a wide receiver back. Martavis Bryant is coming back.
They needed more help on offense.
Yeah, another wide receiver. Because why not?
On a good one.
Yeah.
It's good that he's back.
What's good for him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good for the team.
He was a 2-year. He played for 2 years. He was suspended last year.
Yeah.
For the league substance abuse policy. He and Ben Roethlisberger called him out after he got suspended.
Well, a little bit.
A little bit. It was more along the lines of we're very disappointed.
And now it's all coming out now. Ben Roethlisberger a year ago said that that Martavis Bryant let the team down because of this suspension.
And I think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get mad about that?
I don't think that was...
Now, 1 year later, Bryant's mad. Brian wants to sit down with Ben and have a man-to-man talk about his feelings and why he said this, I think everything's going to be fine.
That's too bad. I was hoping for a little more strife in Steel Town.
I don't think it's going to be an issue.
So yeah, like you said, they basically get this wide receiver, very talented wide receiver, back for nothing.
Yeah.
If his head is anywhere near screwed on straight, that's going to be good for them. Le'Veon Bell still not signed to a long-term extension, so this is the last year of his contract.
Yeah, getting that money.
Yeah, he's been kind of hinting around about a contract, but he had surgery in the offseason. Surgery on his groin, the groin injury that kept him out of most of the Patriots game in the playoffs. And I think rightfully so if you're a Pittsburgh fan, or if you're a Pittsburgh GM type, Pittsburgh's ownership, how do you justify giving a contract extension to a guy with a bum groin?
Because he's the best running back in the league. Or maybe, in their opinion, he is.
He could be.
And they want to keep him. It's hard not to.
It is hard to keep him, but at the same time, you don't want to pay for him. You don't want to pay him money to, come limp around.
Who wants to pay for anything?
Well, that's true. That's true.
I think you pay him.
I think what I'm hoping for a long, protracted holdout. That's what I want to see.
Like missed games in the season is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, like 3 or 4.
So we want Le'Veon Bell to hold out.
Something like Cam Chancellor did to the Seahawks a few years ago, where he just didn't show up.
He needs to become the highest paid running back in NFL history?
Oh, wow. Yes.
Is that what he needs?
Yes.
Does he deserve it?
I think he does.
Even with the groin?
Especially with the groin. Groin's fine. If I was, you know what? If I was Le'Veon Bell, I would just sit out. I would. He's worth all that.
All right. Well, here's what we do.
Yes.
Let's take this to the next level.
Okay.
We need everybody to tell Le'Veon Bell that he needs to get that money. Twitter.
Yes.
At L_Bell26.
At L_Bell26.
Tell him, hold out.
Hold out.
Get that paper.
Get that money.
Yeah.
He should. You know what? There are only so many contracts you're going to sign in the NFL.
Yeah. Especially with a bum groin.
Especially with a groin that's just fine. If God forbid he doesn't show up.
It's not looking good behind him.
No, they're thin.
Rookie James Conner. Fitzgerald Toussaint. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah.
He was on the Ravens for a little bit. Not that I'm familiar with him. I don't think they want to have him as a real option. And then Niall Davis, who had some good times with good performances, I'll say. I don't know if he had good times with the Chiefs.
I'm not sure that they obviously don't replace him, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to struggle without him.
It's bad news.
The downside, I think, is that even if you don't have him, I still see the Steelers doing pretty well.
Yeah, most likely. But they filled in well with him the last 2 years because D'Angelo Williams was a pretty good backup.
Yeah, so and they don't have him.
He's not there anymore.
So there is that to look forward to.
Yeah.
It could happen.
If he goes down.
Is there anything is there anything on defense that you'd like to point at and look to?
They have a good defense.
Okay.
I don't like their defensive players. I can't say anything nice about them, but they're good.
Yes, they are.
So that's nice.
They're very solid. A fantasy pick?
I think you got to go with Bryant coming back off the missed season.
Do you think you're going to get him for a good price though, or is he going to be a player?
He might be a little priced a little high.
Yeah.
With the anticipation of a big season.
Do you see him as a number 1 receiver or more?
I mean, Antonio Brown's the number 1, but he's like a first round pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, second receiver on your team, hopefully, Martavis Bryant. Go for it.
All right.
Good things out of him.
Projection, I've got them going 11-5.
Me too.
Yeah, it seems about right.
It pains me.
It hurts. Okay. So moving on to the next best team.
Or the equally best team, in my opinion.
The equally best team, the Baltimore Ravens. Talk to us about the Ravens.
Well, they added Jeremy Maclin on offense, which I am happy about because I don't remember the last time they had a emphasis on young wide receiver that was worth anything. Because they had Steve Smith, they had Anquan Bolden, Derek Mason, but those guys they performed well for the Ravens, but they were all past their prime.
They were. Yeah, each one of those, though, I think you're right. They got a lot out of those guys.
Yeah. So I'm excited for Jeremy Maclin. He's had really just one good season. So far, he had 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns with lowly old Nick Foles as his quarterback. And that wasn't the year Nick Foles was good either.
No.
That was the next year when Nick Foles was really bad. So I have hope that Maclin is going to get some stats up, put some touchdowns on the board for the Ravens.
Okay. What else do we have? We've got some defensive signings.
Yeah, well, they lost a lot on defense. They lost Timmy Jernigan to Philadelphia, Elvis Dumerville to San Francisco, Lawrence Guy to New England, Zach Orr, well, we'll get to him later.
Okay.
And Sharice Wright, who was an underwhelming cornerback to Buffalo. They got Tony Jefferson from Arizona, and then they drafted cornerback Marlon Humphrey, linebacker Tyus Bowser, defensive end Chris Wormley, and linebacker Tim Williams. So they're bringing in a lot of youth to try and keep this defense the stalwart that it is.
And they still have Terrell Suggs.
Yeah.
To kind of ramrod things.
CJ Mosley.
I don't know who CJ Mosley.
Dude's a beast.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
How dare you don't know.
I'll take your word for it. What about Zach Orr?
So, Zach Orr is an interesting situation. He got hurt last year at the end of week 16, went in for a doctor visit, and they thought prior to the doctor visit that it was a bulging disc. They found a degenerative issue. One of his top vertebrae was not fully formed. So they say, well, this is not good. You should not be playing football. You could possibly die or maybe just get paralyzed. So you should probably not play football again. So he retires, and they're on the verge of working out an extension with him. He's an undrafted free agent, and he played 2 years special teams for the Ravens and then came out of nowhere last year, put up like 6 tackles a game. So they wanted to keep him on the payroll, and then this injury news comes down. He decides to retire. Fast forward about 5 months, he reveals that he only talked to one doctor, supposedly. That was the one that convinced him to retire. Word starts getting out that that was his only opinion about the whole neck thing. Gets a second opinion. You can still play. You're fine. So now he's trying to come back and play, but the Ravens don't want him.
That's an amazing story. That's a lot. Yeah. You can see why the Ravens would want to stay away from him, and that could turn tragic.
And I think the other teams are just as wary. He's worked out for the Lions, Jets, and Colts, and so far there's been no movement on a contract.
Yeah, he had a really breakout year last year.
Yeah,
you're right. The whole thing is.
It's too bad.
It really is. It's too bad. Is there a fantasy play?
Here's my fantasy play.
Yes.
This is a good one.
The whole offense.
Another new player for the Ravens.
Really?
Danny Woodhead.
I forgot about Danny Woodhead.
He was out last year, ACL tear, but we all know he's a pass-catching back, and the Ravens will work that into their game quite frequently. So I think he's gonna pull in a lot of catches, maybe get a few touchdowns. I think he's a PPR target for sure, and a late round, like a bench running back in most other leagues.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I totally forgot about Danny Woodhead being a Raven.
I'm excited for him.
That's going to be fun. Okay. A projection. I've got them going, call it 7-9.
And that's fair.
Okay.
Their offensive line is not good.
Not really, no.
So that's what worries me.
It could be better, because I think Joe Flacco's coming back from an ACL. He's another year removed from it. I think he's going to do better than he did last year if they can keep him clean.
He's never seemed to be the most aware quarterback in the pocket, though. I feel like he gets sacked a lot. I see them coming.
Yeah, he looks downfield a lot. He's not really...
Yeah.
He's counting on his line to keep him upright, and that doesn't always happen.
If the offensive line can stabilize a little bit, which is what I, of course, think will happen.
Of course it will, yes.
I have them at 11-5.
Yes, 11-5. I think that sounds great. So the Baltimore Ravens 11-5 next year,
or 7-9.
It's a lock. No,
they haven't topped 8 wins in 3 years.
Really? Since they won the Super Bowl? Is that?
I think it was further back than that.
Okay, maybe it was. Maybe that was further back. All right. So Cincinnati Bengals. We got 2 more teams. Cincinnati Bengals. We'll start with the Bengals.
They have an easy schedule, apparently.
Do they?
29th out of 32 teams.
I don't know that it's going to matter. That team. Actually, it might. That team is the definition of mediocrity. That's parity. That's what, when the NFL talks about parity, they're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Marvin Lewis, their head coach, has been there since 2001. Over that span, he is 118, 103,
and three ties.
Yes. No playoff wins. 15 seasons, 0 playoff wins.
7 tries?
They've been to the playoffs 7 times. Yes. And they have 7 losses to show for it during the Marvin Lewis era. He's been there for at least 2 teardowns and rebuilds.
Yeah.
Apparently, in Mike Brown, the owner's eyes, there is no other coach than Marvin Lewis. I have no idea. Dirt. Maybe he does.
Yeah.
I have no idea how you keep your job as an NFL head, a professional coach
impressive.
At any level. I can't think of another coach who's had that long a run with a team and not won championships.
Not done anything.
No. Got him to the playoffs. That's what you did. You got him to the playoffs. That's it. Greg Popovich's been in San Antonio a long time, but Greg Popovich got rings.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick's been in New England for a long time. Bill Belichick's got rings.
Good luck, Marvin.
Yeah, Marvin, no rings. No rings,
He
Marvin.
should probably get fired after this year.
He is laughing all the way to the bank.
Maybe who wins the Super Bowl, he should still get fired.
Maybe. What might help them win the Super Bowl? Drafting John Ross out of the University of Washington with the 9th overall pick, receiver. Yeah. Somebody for Andy Dalton to throw the ball to.
They need another wide receiver.
They do need another wide receiver. 9th overall seems high to me, but
they took AJ Green 4th.
Yeah, so they've got a history of doing it.
Worked out well.
AJ Green he's a heck of a receiver.
Initially, I thought he had a bad year last year because he didn't top 1,000 yards, but I remembered that he missed 9 games.
Did he really?
7 games. He only played 9 games.
Okay.
He only had 4 touchdowns, but he easily would have eclipsed the 1,000 yard mark, and probably with 7 or 8 more games, 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's a very respectable line. So,
if you don't have anything else for these guys, because I do not really have anything else that I would like to talk about.
So their running game is interesting.
Yes,
they had Giovanni Bernard, then they added Jeremy Hill, and now they've added Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon at the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're going to add another running back next year, or if this is finally what they've been planning for. This is
what they've been strategizing to get to.
Marvin Lewis's long game. This is why he's here, to put together the first 4-headed running back attack.
It's new formation.
Yeah. So they're all good running backs. Giovanni Bernard is working through an injury, but he'll be fine for the season. They have some good running backs, but the offensive line is terrible. Pro Football Focus ranks it 31st coming into the league this year. They lost Andrew Whitworth. He went to the Rams. They lost their right guard, Kevin Zeitler. And they've got Cedric Ogbuehi.
Okay.
He's going to move in, and he's been terrible. Huge disappointment for them. So that should go swimmingly. Jake Fisher to right tackle. Andre Smith to right guard. Bunch of players you've never heard of course. This is a terrible offensive line.
Okay.
Things aren't looking good for me. For the Bengals offense.
So what they plan on throwing the ball then and running it in space, I guess.
Throwing the ball and hoping that their running backs can pick up all these blitzes that are sure to be coming their way.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't see anything wrong with that. That sounds like that sounds like a Marvin Lewis coach team.
Yeah.
It's good. Okay. Is there a fantasy play here?
I'm going to say Joe Mixon.
Really?
I think...
Over AJ Green?
AJ Green's going to get picked no matter what.
Okay.
He's like a second round pick. Joe Mixon, he's going to share carries with Bernard and Hill.
Okay.
But maybe he'll do something.
Maybe. I guess that's, might be a sleeper pick. Sure.
Out of everyone else on their team, Brandon LaFell's the other wide receiver. Him, AJ Green, and John Ross. I'm not excited about them.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Mixon it is.
Mixon it is. All right. Fair enough. I am looking at them going 6-10.
I am with you on that one, my friend.
And I would be very surprised if it was better than that. We'll see. I'd be surprised if they came out higher than that.
I'll just say I wouldn't be surprised if it was worse than that.
Now, we're looking at...
Speaking of worse than that,
there was nobody worse. There was no team worse than the Cleveland Browns last year. And I know this because they were 1-15. That was literally the worst record in the league.
So that means they got the first pick, though.
They did get the first pick.
Who'd they take?
Myles Garrett. And that was the exact right person to take.
Good job.
Pass rushing specialist. He can play the run. Impact player out of the box. He's a motor guy. He's gonna be there, barring injury, for 15 years. It's gonna be great. And the best part about that is they didn't draft Mitchell Trubisky, because that would have been so dumb. So dumb. They also added Jabril Peppers out of Michigan.
Good defensive back.
That was a heck of a pickup, all things considered. I mean,
solidify that terrible defense.
It'll help. Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
And they got Jabril Peppers in the bottom half of the first round, and then in the second round they went out and got Notre Dame quarterback Deshaun Kaiser,
who I like. And
that's a guy who's got some potential here.
I want him to play him
right away.
Yeah. I don't like Brock Osweiler. I don't like Cody Kessler. I don't think Hugh Jackson likes Cody Kessler either. And it's just because he's not tall enough.
Really?
Hugh Jackson wants to have a minimum 6'2" quarterback.
So, an elitist.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackson is an elitist. I didn't realize that about him.
He wants them to be able to he wants them to be able to see above the offensive line, and he doesn't like it when passes get deflected and batted down and stuff like that.
So, what I claim to be 5'8" wouldn't be tall enough.
No.
For
not unless you can run really well on stilts.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, okay. Well, that's good to know.
So the problem, though, for me, is that Brock Osweiler is there. And this guy's 6'7". So I have a bad feeling that Hugh Jackson is just going to play Brock Osweiler.
No. Because he's going to pick the tall kid. That's what he's going to do.
I'm judging you, Hugh Jackson. Don't play Brock Osweiler.
You know what? Brock Osweiler is a really interesting. He's an interesting story because they picked him up. Obviously, they picked him up from the Houston Texans, where Osweiler had a terrible year. Really infighting in the team. He was calling out his coaches in the press at the end of the year. Not a great situation. And so Houston, being in need of some cap relief, traded him to the Browns. Basically they paid the Browns to take him away. The Browns sent to Houston a 6th round pick, and they got back Brock Osweiler in a 4th round pick.
At least it wasn't a terrible trade.
No,
aside from having to take Brock Osweiler.
And this is another reason why I'm optimistic on the Browns, because they have shown now they're willing to spend money.
Good for them.
To get players, because they're not looking to get Brock Osweiler. They're looking for that 4th round pick.
Yeah,
that's what they wanted.
A smart move.
In 2018, they've got 10 picks in the draft. They've got, what does it say here? It's got 3 3rd rounders and 2 4th rounders in the 2018 draft.
That's a good place to find talent.
Yeah, so they could really get some depth. I mean, just a year away. The downside is that that's a year away, so you've got to get through the 2017 season first. And I don't see them doing that well.
Yeah, that's why I think they should play Kaiser.
Do you really? I understand that you want to play Kaiser, you want to get him game experience, but I remember Troy Aikman just getting shellacked.
Yeah.
His first year, 1-15, they almost killed him.
But Troy Aikman ended up pretty good.
He did.
I guess it depends on what Kaiser is like, if he can withstand that kind of brutal...
Oh, it's going to be bad. I think it's really going to be bad on offense this year.
Yeah.
I don't think they've got the offensive line to keep anybody upright. I think it's going to be a lot of 3 and outs. I think whoever you put in a quarterback is going to be looking to duck.
Well, they added J.C. Treader at center, and Joe Bitonio is coming back from an injury that he had last year.
Okay.
So that's going to help their offensive line. Joe
Thomas is a stud.
Yeah.
One of the best in the league. And I still think they're going to be running for their lives in Cleveland. I have no sense of...
Isaiah Crowell.
What about Isaiah Crowell? What does that mean?
Isaiah Crowell is a good running back.
Yeah.
I think he'll help. He'll take some pressure off of the quarterback. He had 950 yards, 7 touchdowns, averaged 4.8 yards per carry, and really good at yards after contact. Number 2 in 2016, 3.18 yards.
That's a good stat.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows there's going to be a lot of contact.
There's going to be a lot of bad stats for the Browns too.
Yeah, he's going to need to break tackles to be able to get yards.
And then they have Duke Johnson too as a pass catching back. So they've got a pretty good tandem of running back. They're not outstanding. They're nobody.
Is that a real name
that you want? Duke Johnson?
Is that a real name?
Maybe that's the best name.
That could be. Maybe that does surpass Jim Bob Cooter.
Or is it just number 2?
Duke.
Yeah.
Duke Johnson. That's fantastic.
Their wide receivers are terrible, though.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it matters who plays quarterback. I don't think any of them are going to have success.
Yeah.
So it's a tough year to put in a rookie quarterback. That being said, if he earns the spot, you should definitely play him because you're not looking. I don't think Brock Osweiler is going to get a sniff. Aside from being 6'7", which I had no idea Hugh Jackson was a heightist, I guess. But why would you play a guy who you clearly don't intend to keep?
I don't know.
If it was,
I feel like it happens all the time with teams with bad quarterback situations. Yeah, just shuffle them in and out, trying to find somebody that'll have that magic touch for 5 or 6 games, get them some wins.
Wow. Anyway, like I was saying, I do think they're on the right track. I just don't think it's going to be this year. Do you have somebody you would like to see on your fantasy team?
I like Isaiah Crowell.
Yeah?
I think he's good.
It sounds like he's a spot. Yeah.
Third running back, flex position.
Okay.
Bye week, fill in.
Okay.
That type of thing. But I think he's a good roster.
Okay. I can see that. I've got them going 2-14.
Hey, me too.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. And that sounds not great. Things are on the right track. They've been bad for so long.
That's improvement.
That's 100% improvement. Yeah.
Good for them.
Two wins, and then get another draft class under your belt, and then in 2018 they could really, depending on how things shake out, they could really do well next year. Next year. Are you saying next year? This year, 2018.
Now, are you saying their draft picks, that these are the picks they're drafting next year?
Yes.
The 10 picks.
After the end of this next season, then they will have a draft. So they're
ready to fully reinforce.
Yeah. I think they're on the right track. If they can just stay the course one more year.
They can overtake the Bengals.
Yes. I'm not sure what the Bengals do at that point. They cry, I guess. That's what they do. I'm not a huge fan of the AFC North, but...
I'm not either, outside of that one team.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, so the AFC North wrapped up. Stick a fork in them. They're done. And we have one more set of divisions to look at.
Yeah, Souths.
The Souths.
I don't think anybody ever said Souths before.
The AFC and the NFC Souths.
I've never heard it.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Carolina Panthers. I'm looking forward to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Interesting things about their ownership situation that just makes me laugh. I wonder if we should get a sound drop.
Is that our first sound drop?
It might be. We'll take a look. That's all we have for this week.
That was a good week. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at The Broken Plane. And you can send us any emails if you want to have us talk about something. Any suggestions, if you want to berate us privately instead of publicly on Twitter, that's fine too. thebrokenplanepod@gmail.com.
And that's all we got this week.
All right.
So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.